Hello and welcome to Raising Those Spirits. I'm Steve,
And I'm Sam.
and welcome to episode 14. This week, we're kind of recovering from Halloween. I know we already did our Halloween episodes, but we actually just lived through Halloween. We just timed the episodes around Halloween. So we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween, and
hmm
we're going to talk about the Ghostbusters because by the time this episode comes out, it will be about 3 or 4 days before the new movie comes out.
Oh yeah, it's got that Paul Rudd action that we all love.
You know, I watched the first teaser trailer. I have not gotten around to watching any of the other trailers. I know the third trailer dropped like yesterday, and there's a lot of speculation around it. But
Oh, I didn't see that.
yeah, no, there's a ton of speculation now. I saw a screen cap when I was on YouTube, and it was Paul Rudd being chased by one of the big like dog statue things from part one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so there's all this speculation, like, is he the gatekeeper? Blah 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 blah.
Oh, he's gonna end up being like the Rick Moranis
Yeah, kind
part.
of.
Oh, that would make sense.
So,
All right, yeah, that makes sense.
by
Sure.
by the time our viewers listen to this, I will be more informed.
We'll be
But
closer to the movie coming out, but this is gonna come out before the movie comes out.
yeah, but I worked an 11-hour day yesterday and I just didn't have the energy to do all that. Okay, so let's talk about what we've been up to. What have you been up to?
Oh, we had our Halloween party over the weekend, and I purchased a sheet pan that has skull faces. So it's not really a sheet pan. I guess it's like a cake pan with a design where you make basically individual like cupcake sized cakes that look like skulls. And the idea was I made up a bunch of these and I thought like, oh, I'll put these out. I'll put out like frosting, like writable frosting so people can design their own skull cakes. Then nobody did. Nobody at my Halloween party wanted to do this. Everybody would eat the cake, but nobody wanted to bother to put the frosting on it. I think it was a big missed opportunity on their part. Not that I did it either. But that was a lot of fun. I found that at Target. You can probably find them on sale now that Halloween is done if you can find them. We did a couple of other fun Halloween decorations. I got jumbo marshmallows that my wife used that same decorative frosting to make look like ghosts. And that was a real easy, fun thing. And the kids who were at the party got a real kick out of them. And they got all sugared up. So it was a lot of fun. I did a lot of Halloween baking this year.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I was really bummed I missed your Halloween party. I was like, we do a spooky podcast. I am a spooky person. Halloween parties are the thing. This is my Halloween spooky co-host's party. I need to go to this. And then I was too wiped and I was like, yeah, that tracks for 2021.
Yeah, there'll be more Halloween parties in the
Yeah,
future.
absolutely. We did the Roger Williams Zoo in Providence the weekend before Halloween. Did a trick or treat at the zoo type of a thing where like all the kids got to come in their costumes and walk around, and they had like little candy stations around where they give you like a Tootsie Roll and stuff. And my it was my wife's birthday, and so she was like, "Let's just go to the zoo, kind of do like a nice day." So we brought my kid there and just let him kind of just be around tons of other kids in their Halloween costumes and stuff because we live in a really small town. So even if we went out trick or treating, he wasn't gonna really like get that big kids out experience. So we got to do that. It was nice. And then on Halloween proper, we dressed him up, and people in my town go really big on decorations, kind of like, you know, in Chris when like people put up their Christmas lights, you'll drive around and see all like the crazy displays type of a thing like that, but with Halloween. So we took a long walk through town and kind of looked at what everyone had done, walked past the old historical cemetery, just kind of had like a nice day and dressed him up, of course, because it was Halloween and we were going out. And then, like on our way back, all these people were like, "Oh, you're trick or treating?" And we were like, "Well, he's kind of young." And they're like, "We didn't know kids were out already. Hold on." And so he inadvertently trick or treated. for the first time. He didn't really care or know what was going on, but we got a pretty good haul.
Nice.
Yeah, so got to take him trick or treating, which was a fun, unexpected experience. And yeah, that's been my spooky stuff recently.
What, what's funny, different places start at different times. I always think of trick or treating starting at sundown. And that's what we did with my daughter. We took her out at about 6 o'clock. The sun went down and we had her in her costume. She did like 2 or 3 blocks of our neighborhood before she was just like, okay, I'm done. This is all I wanted to do.
I mean,
And
that's
she still
great.
got a pretty good, yeah, she still got a good haul. We were out for, I don't know, not an hour. She's 4, so it was a long walk for her. But I saw my parents sent me a video of their town in Jersey, and it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the streets were overrun with kids.
Well, it was a
Like,
weekend.
yeah, I guess so, but I was so surprised. Because I mean, like, it was the same town I grew up in. I was like, I don't remember ever going trick or treating during the day, but these kids, like, I mean, up and down their block, which is it's a dead end, it's a loop, so I think it's a good block for trick or treating because there's no through traffic.
Yeah.
It was just overrun. They ran out of candy, and my little neighborhood here outside of Boston, it didn't start like really. Nobody came around till 6 o'clock. I didn't. I just left the bucket out on the porch because we were out trick or treating. But really, nothing got taken. I think maybe a little bit, but we really like where my house is, kind of on the corner of the block. Just really didn't get a lot of traffic.
What did you drink on Halloween, Sam?
So I made, since we're talking about Ghostbusters this week, I found a recipe for Ecto Cooler. And my intention, and this is what I did, was make my own Ecto Cooler and then also get a whole bunch of different nips and see what nips worked with the Ecto Cooler. This genuinely, and generally totally failed. I'll tell you why.
Can I
So let me read you.
can I interrupt really quickly?
Interrupt.
And I guess I probably should have mentioned this to you before your party because you told me you were doing this, but Ecto Cooler is back because of Ghostbusters, right? You could have just
Oh, is it
bought.
available now?
Yeah, you could have just bought real Ecto Cooler and spiked it.
Okay. Where the heck were you 3 days ago?
I was working like 60, 70 hours and I didn't have a brain. Sorry,
Okay, well
it's just
that
occurring to
is
me
not
today.
what I did. That is not what I did. It did not occur to me that Ecto Cooler would be available in the world.
Fair.
Anyway, my way is more fun, but again, complete fail, complete and total failure. So the recipe that I found somewhere on the internet, go ahead and Google it, you'll find it. 2 cups of orange tangerine juice, 1 packet of orange flavored Kool-Aid, 1 packet of tangerine flavored Kool-Aid, juice of 1 fresh lemon or a tablespoon of your favorite lemonade mix, 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of water, blue and green food coloring, and enough water to fill up a 1 gallon jug. So, here's where things went wrong. I was not able to find a lot of these things. First off, couldn't find orange tangerine juice, so I just went with orange because I figure oranges and tangerines are pretty similar.
Oh no.
Anyway, no,
I don't think enough for this, but I'll hear how this worked out.
okay. I could not find orange flavored Kool-Aid. That's I don't know. That was not in my supermarket. I could not find tangerine flavored Kool-Aid. Again, it was not in my supermarket. So here's what I substituted there. I found a little squirt thing of Tang. So it was like one of those things where if you get like a bottle of water, you could squirt some like concentrated Tang into it and make it into Tang.
Perfect.
Like, oh, that's the same as orange Kool-Aid.
It's exactly the same.
Right. And then I found like a tangerine Kool-Aid of the same sort of thing. So I make all my I throw everything together. I just squeeze a whole bunch of these like flavor mixers in. Instead of using a lemon, I used like a packet of my wife's Crystal Light lemonade mix, which is about a tablespoon. And it was the brightest, disgusting looking orange color I think I've ever seen. It was like neon orange color. And it was sickeningly sweet. It was way too sweet. So I watered it down. I like poured some of it into another pitcher and then like filled up the pitcher. There was probably like half of the ingredients. It was mostly watered down. I mixed in my food colorings, and it doesn't turn that bright sort of ecto cooler green you remember as a kid. It turned this real dark forest green. Like it looked like it must have been. It looked like spinach juice. It
It
did
did
not
not
look
look like
like.
Slimer.
No, it did not look like bright neon green like I wanted it to. And it tasted fine. It mostly tasted like artificial orange juice, but it didn't really bring me back to my childhood. Again, I failed to get the ingredients, so maybe I can't blame this recipe because I didn't really make this recipe. We tried it with a bunch of different nips. I would say the most successful nip I used was pink lemonade flavored vodka. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. We also tried tequila. Tequila was good. Regular vodka was fine. Um, no, and this that was that. I think it was as many people as I could convince give this a try. It was like 3 or 4 people. Um, yeah, all that got poured down the drain by the end of the day. I'll share a picture of the Kool-Aid on our Instagram feed when this episode comes out because it was super gross looking. uh,
I mean, it's the time of year where you're allowed to make a super gross looking drink.
yeah, yeah.
I
I really wanted it to be good, and it was quite bad.
I'm sorry. Well, maybe you can just go buy some Ecto Cooler and, experiment with some of your mixers.
I think I will. What'd you, Steve? What'd you make?
I also made a disgusting drink that I changed up the recipe and have regrets.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I made Swamp Monster Sherbet Punch. It's, that
Hmm.
like when you were a kid, they always made that like sherbet punch at like school events or church or wherever you were. In the 90s, like sherbet punch was really big, at least where I was from.
Okay.
So, especially around like Halloween parties and stuff, I distinctly remember it a lot. And so, this calls for half a gallon of lime sherbet, 3 cups vodka, one 46-ounce can of pineapple juice, a liter of ginger ale, a liter of lemon lime soda. Now, I didn't want to make enough punch for everyone. I just wanted to do this for my wife and I. But
Mm.
I keep little cans of pineapple juice in my house, mainly for mixers. I always have ginger ale cans, and we flew to my sister's wedding a few weeks ago. And on the plane, they gave me a Sprite that I didn't drink, and I was like, lemon lime soda, excellent.
Hmm.
And so I poured us like a third of a cup of the can of Sprite, a third of a can of ginger ale, a third of a can of the pineapple juice, and that part wasn't bad. That part was roughly, I might not have gotten the proportions 100%, but that was passably like, okay, this is tastes enough like I remember as a kid. And I didn't buy pure lime sherbet. I got the rainbow, but I focused mainly on getting the lime in there. But where I just, I like sherbet. I don't want to just get the lime. Um,
Sure. Okay.
and where I diverged was I'm not the biggest vodka guy. I was like, I think with, the lemon lime and the lime sherbet and the ginger and the pineapple, I think coconut rum might go really nicely in this. So
Hmm.
I'm going to replace the vodka with coconut rum. This was a mistake.
Oh.
It was so sickly sweet. It was almost undrinkable.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I it was going good until I added the alcohol. So if you're going to do this, just don't do coconut rum. That's my big takeaway. I blame myself. I should have, since I made a few, I made like one for my wife, one for me. I should have done like one with vodka and then one like experimental one. Instead, I did them both with the coconut rum, and I've got regrets now. And I
Yeah, you
sent you a
gotta be careful
picture.
with yeah, I got it.
It looked gross. It looked like swamp monster swamp water. It was like a good shade of like yellowish green. It had like the gross green foam on the top. It was much better once all the sherbet dissolved into it. I will say that. It kind of fortified it a little bit.
Did you see I just sent you a picture of my ecto cooler?
Yes, that is a deep, deep green. That is kind of like a pool that hasn't been treated and got full of algae. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got a very swampy pool feel, which is again, it's very on theme for Halloween. I think you hit an amazing Halloween color.
Yeah. Wasn't good though. Too bad. But let's talk about Ghostbusters, the cartoons.
Yes, so we watched the real Ghostbusters cartoon and then the extreme Ghostbusters cartoon. We watched the pilot for each. We did not watch the
Mhm.
movies. We've seen them each so many times.
Yeah, we don't need to tell people about the movies. Like
Yeah,
if you're not on board with Ghostbusters at this point, you're not gonna get on board.
exactly. But I loved the real Ghostbusters as a kid. I mean it was strictly for merchandising and I had all the merchandise. I really did. I had the firehouse, I had the action figures, I had Ecto 1, I had a bunch of the ghosts, I had like the some of the proton pack type of stuff that like you run around the house
Hmm.
and it like you would turn it on, it was like a flashlight with a ghost in it and like you would shine a ghost onto the wall. Um, so this show fully worked on me.
Yeah. Rewatching it. Of
Mm.
course, I watched this a ton as a kid too, and I had plenty of the toys. I was surprised by how well it held up for a cartoon from I think '86. This came out.
Oh, I hated
It
it.
hated the show. You hated rewatching the cartoon
I
today.
did. I mean, we will talk about why. I have, okay, by the 2 minute mark, I
Mm.
literally had a paragraph written, like a
Oh my
long
god.
one. I kept having to stop and pause and rewind because I just had so many thoughts on the first 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, oh no, tell me about it. Why did you not like
Okay. So
this
the
cartoon?
the theme song slash opening is great.
Of
It's great.
course, it's
But okay,
yeah.
I should also say I went into this with adult knowledge, and that bothers me. I think if I didn't know things I knew, I might have liked this more. Like,
Okay.
one of the first things is how Janine looks. Janine looks so different than she does in the movies. And Janine is actually one of the reasons the show was canceled. I don't know if you know this.
I know that they had to retool her at one point.
Because, like, her glasses scared kids. They didn't like her pointy glasses.
Right, I
Um,
remember. Yeah, they had to retool her, and basically they removed all of her personality.
and they actually cited that when Owl House got canceled. They talked a lot about how it was the same kind of thing where a bunch of market researchers talked to kids and thought they figured out what they wanted, and it basically got this show canceled. And one of the
Eh,
big things was that kids don't like Janine. And I think what happened is they made Janine hot. Janine is like a sex pot redhead in this. And I'm just thinking if she made kids feel weird, I think they misread why. I
You think that Janine was just too good looking
I
in the
think it was
cartoon?
more of a Jessica Rabbit than a her glasses make her look like a witch. And they really were like, kids don't like her pointy glasses. It makes them uncomfortable. They think she's like some kind of a witch. I'm like, no, I think she's just like Jessica Rabbiting them. But that's just my opinion on it.
Okay.
But it was really weird to just see Janine get turned into that.
Okay,
Um,
because she was kind of frumpy in the
Kind of
movies.
frumpy, not a redhead. And so there was that. And then we jump from Janine and we jump to Winston, who poor Winston has become such a clown. It's him trying to eat a hamburger and losing it as he's running off to a call and just I don't know. Do you know the story, the original story behind Winston's character?
The movie
Because yeah,
or
because
in the show?
in the movie, because Ernie Hudson actually has like a lot of problems with Winston.
Well,
Uh,
because it was originally going to be Eddie Murphy, and then they took the part way down when Eddie Murphy said no, but nobody took. Uh, Ernie Hudson had seen the original
mm-hmm.
script. Yeah, yeah. Basically, Ernie Hudson had been promised Eddie Murphy's role, and because it wasn't Eddie Murphy, the role got drastically reduced.
But the role was originally supposed to be Winston was ex-military. That's why
Hmm.
they hire him because he's good at taking orders. He can run around with a pack. He's not going to be phased by like all this stuff. Like the whole thing was like he was in the war, and that's why he worked so well despite not being a scientist. They actually had like a tactical military person, and all of that got stripped away. And so he just became this like one-dimensional character, this two-dimensional character. And now in the cartoon he speaks with like a jive accent. He's got a spare tire around the waist. He's very food oriented. I'm like, what have you done to this poor character who you've already stripped everything interesting away from?
Wow.
um and so moving on from that, we get to Egon. Now, I, even as a kid, never loved Egon's animation. He looks more like Vigo the Carpathian, the villain from Part 2, than Harold Ramis.
Okay.
Why is he blonde and tan? Why does he have a pompadour and a mullet? What's with the giant Bruce Campbell double chin? Harold
Wow.
Ramis is an atypical looking Jewish man. None of these things apply to that.
Okay.
Tan, blonde, big mulleted pompadour, double chin. Like that's very like Austrian. That's he. What happened to Egon? I also, why is Ray a redhead? It's like no one has ever seen any of the source actors.
No, I know. I think they're all cartoonified. They don't exactly look like the
Well,
actors
I get
did.
cartoonification, but like the only person that remotely really resembles their character is Venkman.
Think so? I always thought the Venkman looked the least like their
Well, the
actor.
face doesn't look anything like him, but he's at least like a medium-sized, medium-height white man with, kind of poofy brown hair. Egon's now like super tall, Eastern European, Austrian blonde mullet Fabio man. Um, Again, Winston is like a little bit of a gut. It's just,
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
it
so you disagree with the character models
I
versus what the actors looked like.
correct. But I can move past all that. I actually do really like the art style. Like I want to like
Hmm.
get that out there. I watching the opening, I was like I really dig the art they used here. It looks really good. The opening looks great. Um, but then you get out of the opening into the show, and there is a drastic animation drop, which I think we talked about last week with some of the
Yeah,
things we watched.
it's pretty typical of cartoons in the 80s because you would
Very, very.
put all your effort into the uh, theme song animation because that is in every episode. So you really get your money's worth out of it if you get a really good theme song animation. Then you skimp out on the episodes themselves because
I
you don't need to.
just. It was just jarring. I haven't seen it in a while. I was like, oh wow, I forgot that was a thing. We just talked about it on another episode, but.
Right, right.
And like it starts off and they're at a chocolate factory. And it's haunted, and all of the people are fleeing, and just 100 clones of the same woman work at this chocolate factory. They really, my wife pointed out to me, they were like, they just drew that woman once and then copy pasted her like 500 times. It was like the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie with the Oompa Loompas.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, oh man, you're right. They did just like that's just one woman in the crowd again and again and again and again and again. They didn't even change her hair color or anything. But Bill Murray's voice, I always it always makes me smile because Bill Murray or not Bill Murray,
Pinkman.
Venkman was voiced by the actor who played Garfield in the animated
Mm,
Garfield TV show.
right.
And he, I believe, had passed away before the Garfield movie came out. So, he Garfield in the movie was actually voiced by Bill Murray.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lorenzo Music played Pinkman in this after Bill Murray had played him in the movies, and then yeah, they swapped
They
for the
swapped for the movie and cartoon for Garfield, which I always just thought was kind of cool of Bill Murray to do.
Oh no, it's a neat yeah, it's a neat little Easter egg. I think Bill Murray signed on to Garfield for like a paycheck.
I mean,
I don't think
probably, but it was they
I don't think he
probably.
was doing it.
I mean, Bill Murray's apparently like really elusive and hard to get onto your movie.
Mm,
So he doesn't have like an email or anything. He has a call service that you have to
mm.
get the number of, and then you leave him a message, and he checks into this call service periodically, and if he likes your pitch, he'll call you back.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so like I don't know if he just does things for a paycheck always.
Well, the way I had heard it was when Garfield got pitched to him, he thought it was one of the Coen brothers.
I have
Because
heard that. I have
yeah, it
heard
was
that
like the
before.
same name, but it's a different spelling.
Yes.
I don't know why he would have thought that one of the Coen brothers was doing the Garfield movie.
Probably
That
because he
seems
goes
like,
through a call service.
oh, that's
And
true.
he probably just heard the director was Cohen and was just like, I'll call them back.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, these are the downsides. So my next problem,
Getting back to Ghostbusters.
getting back
Getting
to
back to
Ghostbusters, my
Ghostbusters.
next problem with the episode is they all seem to like have a thing for Janine now. They all show up. They save the chocolate factory and they get a year supply of chocolate and they all show up like, Janine, we have chocolate for you, and they're all like, and I'm like, this is the opposite of how this was in the movies.
Oh, where they were all kind of antagonistic towards Janine.
Yes, and Janine would like hit on Egon. Now
Mm.
they're all kind of like mushy for Janine, and I'm like, I get it, she's hot now, but what is happening?
Well, she's, I mean, the lone main female figure in the show.
Yeah. So I was actually good with the show up to this point, all these gripes aside. I know it sounds like I wasn't, but I really
I
was.
mean, this is the first like 6 minutes of the show
This
that
is the
you've
first
gotten
6
through.
minutes. Yeah, I told you I had paragraphs. But then we got to Slimer, and I just hate Slimer. Why is he there? I mean, I know why he's there, like for Mattel toys, and
Sure, merchandising. Remember, this is all just
this is
trying to
all
get
just
another Ninja
merchandising.
Turtles.
The kids love the Slimer, but like in world, why is he their mascot? That's never explained.
No, it isn't. I thought there was. I was thinking like, oh, maybe they're gonna explain why Slimer's still around here, and they did not.
Yes, at one point it seemed like they were going to. I actually wrote the note and I was like, why is Slimer here? And they started talking about him. I was like, oh, maybe I get to delete this line. And I didn't. It is never, ever addressed. And I'm just like, he's so, so annoying. The episode is actually about Slimer is just a pain in the ass. And Venkman's just like, can we just catch him and throw him in the thing? And I'm like, yes, can we? And they're all like, no. And I'm like, no one gives an explanation as to why.
Yeah, it's kind of because I mean, like, you go from the movie to the show, and you have to, it's one of the things that's translated. It's like you take this cutest character that they had. I guess, know, want to say the cutest character that was in
John
the
Belushi
movie,
would
even
be
though,
honored.
and yeah, you turn him into kind of the mascot or the pet, but it is really weird, especially when you think, well, this is a ghost, this is a human consciousness that is kind of their pet. So it's like, yeah, it was an adult, seemingly an adult man in the movies who is now just like being cute around their house. And it really makes you think about just the nature of ghosts in this universe in a way that
Yes.
it's like I know that I'm overthinking it. And then again, like
No,
I
you're
think
not.
as a kid's show it's fine, but it's just like, yeah, it's really unsettling when you think about it. Especially some of the other ghosts in this episode.
If Slimer is domesticatable,
Hmm.
what are they doing?
But yeah, how did that happen? How did you take Slimer monster? Presumably the events of the movie happened prior to the cartoon.
Yes,
Which means
and
we're taking Slimer, who was a monster, like was an antagonist.
you have captured once.
Hmm. You turn him into a cutesy little pet. So what did you do? And again, remembering that this is a human consciousness. This was a person who lived and died and became a ghost. How did you make him into your cuddly house pet?
The implication of this is that you can rehabilitate a ghost.
Yeah.
And why aren't they doing that more?
Oh, sure. If you could do it once to Slimer, why not do it to the other? In this episode, it's like a family of ghosts. It's just,
Exactly.
again, kind of really weird. Because that's like a family of people, again, it's a family of people who lived and died.
But one of them's a big
Came,
baby.
came ghosts. Yeah, the son, the child, this. Okay, so
Full grown
everybody go
man.
watch this episode on YouTube. Yeah, he must have grown into a full grown man and then died and then came a baby as a ghost because he came back as a ghost with the ghost of his parents. And very unsettling when you think about it.
Yeah, very weird, unsettling implications whenever they really get into anything about ghosts in the first episode.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, right. Okay, so then I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
okay.
So those ghosts become. They escape because Slimer accidentally lets them escape. So
Yeah,
now we have a
so
family of ghosts.
can we pause that for a second? They
Okay,
escape
pause.
because Slimer just leans against the wall and flips the switch that lets all the ghosts out. They shouldn't there be like a lock on that or a box around it to prevent it from just getting casually bumped and letting every ghost into New York City?
Yeah, especially since, again, considering that the events of the movie had to have happened,
Had to.
that's already happened once.
There should at the very least be a lock on that thing.
Oh, yeah, that's not Slimer's fault because no, I mean,
Absolutely.
he's a goofy little weird little thing. Like he's
That
gonna make a
is
mistake.
their
It's
fault.
Egon's fault. That's the scientist's fault. It's the adult's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, you
No,
if you have
that's
a
not
button
Slimer's fault.
if you have a self-destruct button, you put it behind glass.
Something, any sort of protection. That
Yeah.
no proper safety measures have not been taken. We can all agree that Walter Peck in the movie
I
was
was just
right.
thinking that he had at least some good points.
Yeah, no,
Clearly, this
Walter
is a
Peck.
hazard.
He was a jerk of a person,
He has
but at the
no
same time,
penis.
yeah, it's just amazing the lines that they got away with in that movie. But again, the movie wasn't for children. Um, if you think about it, Walter Peck really was not a bad person. Even if he was a jerk, he was definitely doing his job trying to stop them because what they were doing was not environmentally sound, and they proved that time and time again.
Absolutely.
Okay, but again,
So you had jumped
what was I
forward.
saying? I jump forward. Okay, so those three ghosts, they escape, they start impersonating Ghostbusters to
Like a
try and
rival
discredit them.
agency.
And they pretend that they're a rival agency of Ghostbusters trying to put the actual Ghostbusters out of business. Just okay, sure. That's a little bit convoluted of a plan, but why not? One of their plans is they're going to go get another bigger ghost to attack them. When they go to find that bigger ghost, they find a yet even bigger ghost has seemingly killed the ghost that they were going to go find. So can ghosts die?
I mean, at the end of the episode, they don't beat this ghost, they kill it.
Yeah.
They do that. It seems to be they do the thing that they think they did to Gozer, where it's like full
Cross the
anatomic.
streams.
Well, no, yeah, they did that, and then it's like full anatomic, like vaporization or whatever the line is, and they think they've just done that. Um,
Yeah.
they seem to kind of do that to the ghost, where so it seems to be that you can just atomize them with the right thing. So I guess ghosts can theoretically kill each other, or maybe he
Yeah,
absorbed
because
him.
the sense I get is that the biggest ghost is able to kill smaller ghosts.
Yeah.
Which is just, well, what does that mean?
I mean, they are worried on Slimer's behalf when Slimer goes to challenge him, and he's a ghost, so he should theoretically be fine, but that does imply a degree of in world consciousness that something bad could happen to Slimer if this big ghost gets a hold of him.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so ghosts can defeat and kill other ghosts in the Ghostbusters cartoon universe.
I'm going to say I'm reading a lot more into this than I thought I was going to.
Oh, there's a lot to think
There's
about.
a lot to unpack here.
Let's put all that aside for a moment. Let's get to the heart of the question. Is this Does the 1980s Ghostbusters cartoon hold up in a way that you would recommend it to a kid now watch? I get the sense that you wouldn't.
Well,
I think you're pretty anti Ghostbusters cartoon.
that's my next note. This may be a pilot issue. Some shows just have really crappy pilots. Shows that I like have terrible pilots.
Hmm.
So it might just be that this was the pilot. The ghosts were very annoying in this one. And that might not be the case in other episodes. I just did not like the trio in this episode.
Hmm.
Again, especially the giant man baby, but a lot of the jokes just fell really flat in this one. But I did really like Ray. I liked what they did with Ray. He didn't talk a lot, but when he talked, he had comic gold. He was so deadpan. There's one scene where Egon and him get into Ecto 2, which is like a gyrocopter. And as they're strapping in, Ray's like, Egon, did you ever take those flying lessons? And Egon's like, no. And he's like, okie dokie. And he just buckles his seatbelt. And I actually laughed out loud. It was like, and that's the type of energy Ray has in like every scene where he's just like, you know how to fly this? Nope. As they're like taking off the edge of a bridge, he's like, okie dokie, and just like buckles in. And I was like, I'm really enjoying this Ray energy. I would give this another shot. Like, if people, and I know people are going to let us know because we don't have a lot of fans, but we do have fans that like this show, um, tell me an episode or two to check out, I will check them out.
I'll
But
check out more.
I also liked there was a Klaus Nomi Easter egg. Do you even know who Klaus Nomi is?
Oh, you tell me who Klaus Nomi is, please.
Okay, in the Venture Brothers. You
One of my very favorite shows.
yes, you know how there's like the David Bowie
Oh yeah,
thing, and
okay.
he's
So
got those
Klaus,
two
he was
sidekicks. He's got Klaus and he's got Sid Vicious.
yes,
So yeah,
yes.
the one in the tuxedo, that's Klaus Nomi, who was actually an '80s music star that David Bowie did help bring up. He died tragically of AIDS in like 1983. But the head, so there was the giant monster they're fighting is like eight giant toys put together, and eventually they blow its head off, and it does like a Jack in the Box thing, and the head that comes out is a Klaus Nomi head.
Okay.
And I just thought
This is a deep cut.
that was a fun little like Easter egg. So I did like that. That there was a weird Klaus Nomi egg. My wife hated it because she hates Klaus Nomi. He made really weird music. But um, I think my main problem, and again, I think it's just because the ghosts in this episode were very annoying. This episode felt much longer than it was. I was like, is this one of those like hour-long kids pilots? And it wasn't. It was 23 minutes long. And that's just never a good sign.
Oh, okay. I enjoyed watching it. Nostalgia wise, I don't think it would appeal to kid today.
I don't.
Is this no, I definitely, I have a lot of fond memories of watching this show as a kid, and I will definitely, I think, check out a couple of more episodes because I did enjoy it. Um, but I think if I tried to get my daughter to watch it, she's 4, maybe she's a little young. I must have been watching this show when I was about her age because this came on in '86. It ran up until the early '90s, so I was her age when it was running. I don't think she would enjoy it. I don't think she'd get anything out of it. I don't
Yeah,
think it's
we've
too dated.
we've talked a lot with the whole concept of all media is present now for children.
Mm,
And when we were kids, especially with like cable back in the late 80s, early 90s, because this did end in 1991, you are right.
mm.
You didn't have other choices. At that time, on Saturday morning cartoon hour, you had maybe two other things that might have been on during that time. She has all of Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, she has access to everything.
she has access to everything. She can cultivate more particularly. Um.
Yeah. And there is some stuff from about this time that she's watched and enjoyed, like, say, the old DuckTales.
Oh
Like,
no,
she'll watch old DuckTales along with new DuckTales.
absolutely. I'm just saying, quality wise, I think she has better options than this.
Yeah,
I think
there's,
old DuckTales holds up. It is quality.
yeah. This, I think, for a nostalgia show, like, I always say, like, I tried to go back and watch Transformers a few years ago, and I couldn't do it because the quality of the show was just too low. I think the quality is fine here. It's probably on par with, say, Ninja Turtles. I think it's very a Ninja Turtles-esque show. Compared to what's on TV now, it's not going to appeal to a kid right now. I
Yeah,
don't think it's going to.
I agree.
All right. So what else did we watch? We watched pilot
Ex-
episode of Extreme Ghostbusters.
Extreme. Now, let me say, first off, first thing, it starts, first shot, first frame, a shot of the two towers. And I was like,
Uh,
this is immediately dating it. Because it was
yeah,
made
it was
in
97.
1997. So, immediately I was like, okay, this is old.
Yeah.
And then I noticed something. Now, I've watched it recently, which might have been why I noticed it. You might have though. The opening, not like the introduction song and blah blah, not the actual opening, but like the cold open of this episode is the exact same opening as Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated episode 1.
With like the tunnel?
Yeah, there's the guys in the tunnel and they break through the wall and the green smoke comes out and the ghost comes out and you know what I mean? It's
I
like
watched Mystery Incorporated over a year ago, so I don't recall the first episode.
it's not like shot for shot, but they both start with some people working down in like the sewer subway tunnels. They break through a wall. They find, you know, like a little cave with some relics in it. Some green smoke comes out, and then ghosts fly out. And they've
Mm.
released these spirits. And I was just like, okay, it's not shot for anything, but it's not shot for shot or anything, but it's still very, very close. Mystery Incorporated definitely watched this.
Mm.
That was just like
Okay.
a little, almost like Easter egg that I noticed.
Mm.
But um, that opening, not the opening. I just talked about the actual introduction, like the theme song opening. It is extreme.
So extreme.
This intro is extreme. These characters are edgy. This music is alternative.
Yeah.
I
It really, really reeked of 1997.
I was watching this show. I was watching the opening, and I just turned to my wife, and I'm like, "Today on Sick Sad World."
It was so quote unquote G.
Yes.
It's
Oh
like,
my god.
man, to have sat in the market, like the focus testing group with whatever group of middle-aged white men who decided this is what was gonna work.
Yeah.
What a discussion that must have been.
I wanted to like the animation style, but I just didn't. It was similar enough to the time period and other shows that I liked, but it just seemed off. And it may have been that they were like weirdly blending CGI in that weird 90s way where they were like, look, we're blending in a little bit of CGI. And I was like, why?
We can afford one 3D ghost per episode, and darn it, we're gonna do it.
Or like, we're going to go through one 3D subway tunnel. And I'm like, why? As a transition, did we need that? It
Because it's
was.
1997
Yeah,
and we
I
can do
know.
this now.
Like certain shows it really worked on, like Real Adventures of Johnny Quest and stuff. Like cool. Yeah, but then it was just like oh no. Okay, that's some CGI. So I think that might have been one of the things that threw me on the animation.
Sure. The animation, I think it's, again, I don't
Very
know how to
edgy and
describe.
extreme and alternative and
It's the
now.
animation style that was used heavily at that time with like the really kind of blocky almost looking characters.
It
Like very stylized. Like they took the old cartoons and they were like, how do we make them look cool? We're gonna use thick lines and like they're gonna be more pointy. Somehow everybody was more pointy and real sharp elbows for some reason.
I and it didn't use the exact animation, but I got like a weird MTV Liquid Television vibe off of it.
Okay, I agree with what you're saying. Yes.
Like they were like, "What's edgy? MTV. What if we took the animation style from Liquid Television, like Aeon Flux type of things,
Mhm.
and we just used it for the Ghostbusters for the kids?" And like I just kept getting. That's why I made the Six Head World reference earlier. I was like, it seemed very like MTV cartoon, but for kids.
It's like we're gonna take Ghostbusters and make them really rockin' for 1997. It's just like we got big guitars, trying to sound like the Spider-Man opening
Yes,
theme song.
my wife actually said it was drawn exactly like the Spider-Man show at the time.
I think the Spider-Man show looked better because it was less pointy. Everyone on this show was real pointy looking. Again, I don't know how exactly to describe that other than tell people go look at the animation, but you'll see what I mean. Like Slimer, like I don't know, they gave like Slimer pointy muscles.
Yes.
The reanimation of Slimer. It
Yeah.
just looks It doesn't. I'm not gonna say it looks strange, but it looks like it's trying to be like the comic books of that era too. Because again, it was '90s. Everything was really extreme.
Jim Lee.
Whatever the heck that even meant. I don't. It's like edgy. The
Yeah.
characters, personalities, so edgy. There was a couple of things that I was like, this is not. This dialogue is not okay. This dialogue is too edgy for a children's show.
Yes. Well, so we start off, we get out of the intro, we get past the two towers, and you're in a college auditorium. Now, one of the characters is in a wheelchair,
Mm.
and he just rides the ramp down to the bottom to talk to this other character, but he starts at the top of this auditorium, and instead of stairs, it's a ramp. But it's like a 45-degree incline. I was like, what handicap ramp is like 200 feet long and a 45-degree incline if you're not about to be like ending in a jump? It was the most ridiculous handicap ramp ever. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And so then Egon walks in and he has long blonde hair.
Oh yeah, he has a ponytail now because he's edgy.
Yes, so I was like, why does Egon always have long blonde hair? And so we find out he's a professor at this college now. And there's only 4 students in this auditorium that I counted. I did some quick math. That auditorium seats at least 750 students. And he's been given it to teach a class of 5.
Yeah, I can tell you that would never happen.
Yeah. Yeah, he might be
They
able to.
would put him in an appropriately sized classroom.
Yeah, they might let him teach his class if 5 people sign up and put him in like a closet, but no. The 750 person stadium.
It's a waste of
It's
resources.
just a huge waste of resources. So then Janine shows up. Janine shows up. She informs us that she was fired from the Ghostbusters when they went under, and now she's a student and she's in Egon's class. Okay, cool. She looks like older, more boring Janine after they made the
Yeah.
changes. But they're all so much older. I'm like, guys, it's only been 6 years since. But at this point, so I just want to say, I did not know that this was a sequel to the real Ghostbusters.
Oh, you thought it was like its own,
I thought
completely
it was its
own thing.
own thing, so that's why I freaked out when Egon had long blonde hair because I thought it was now 2 shows where Egon looked like this, and I was like, "What is with these animators? Have they met Harold Ramis? Have they seen Harold Ramis?" But then, and then, so I was just like, "Okay," and then I see Slimer, and I was like, "Oh fuck, Slimer's in this one too," and I was like, "Wait, is this an official sequel?" And then,
Yeah.
I googled, it, I was like, "There, this is a sequel," but that's how I learned because I was like, this too much was building. It was getting too weird not knowing. But once I knew that, I got really cool with it. So we meet our main cast. They're a bunch of edgy, extreme college kids. Uh, there's super
Racially
edgy goth.
diverse.
Yeah. Hmm.
Said more racially diverse than the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah, more racially diverse. Peter Venkman is now Latino, Hispanic.
Eduardo. Eduardo is the character. He's an
Eduardo. They have
Hispanic kid.
Hispanic guy. They have it's back in the '90s where if you were a disability, you were ethnically diverse. So it's kind of like the Burger King Kids Club of.
Did have a Burger King Kids Club
So
vibe to
you've
it.
got the kid in the wheelchair. You've got your Hispanic kid. You've got your gloomy girl who I think was also potentially Hispanic.
The actress who played her
It's
is
Tara
Tara Strong,
Strong,
so she's
but
white.
it's the '90s. That didn't matter.
Oh, that's true. I always got the vibe that she was Asian, but I could be
Could have
completely wrong.
been.
Oh, because you see her like grandma for a minute, and her
Yeah, and
grandma
her
was definitely white.
Was she? I got a Latino vibe off of the grandmother, but
He
I
might
could
be
be wrong.
Latino.
But
Okay.
anyway, still definitely more ethnically diverse, and they also have their token black guy who is played by Alfonso Riviera.
Monster Rivera.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, who's on he's
Fresh Prince.
Amer-
Yeah, Fresh Prince.
Fresh Prince. Oh, now he does America's Funniest Home Videos.
Well, yeah, now, but at the time he
The time he
was
was on Fresh Prince, he
Carlton.
was Carlton.
So they all show up. Half of them don't believe in ghosts. This is only 6 years after Ghostbusters. How do half of you not believe in ghosts?
They kind of do that every new Ghostbusters thing. Because think about even like between Ghostbusters 1 and 2, everybody became to the belief that they were frauds.
Well, they thought there was like some weird psychedelic trick. But how many times
Something
and how
like
many
that.
years can this go on before, people just stop believing in ghosts? It's like when Han Solo didn't believe in the Jedi, and I'm like, Han Solo, you were alive during the Clone Wars.
It's like that wasn't that long ago, Han Solo.
Yeah, this.
But even in the new Ghostbusters Afterlife, I get the sense that people don't remember or really care. Ghosts were definitively proven real twice. The sense
Yeah,
that I get from the new like the Paul Rudd movie, it's just like, oh no, people don't believe in ghosts. That was all a bunch of hooey or whatever back in the 80s. No, they were ghosts were definitely real. They attacked New York
it's
multiple times.
documented. It was filmed. It was on the news. The Titanic
It,
showed up. Like, ah.
no, that I think they always do that. Like people have to not believe in ghosts so that Ghostbusters can prove that they're real somehow. Like, no, you don't have to keep doing it. It's like at the beginning of any new Super Metroid game or any Metroid game, they have to get rid of all of the different abilities that you picked up in the last game, and they always have to come up with some excuse for it. It's like,
Yep,
no, everyone forgets. You have to do this all over again.
yep. You forgot how to use your abilities again. We should work on that one day.
Like, why can't you remember? It's only been a day.
So, that is a solid point that you have made. But then but later, and we'll get there, but later the reporters don't know who Egon is at a press conference, and I'm like, he's still in New York. He is at the very least New York City famous.
Oh yeah.
Reporters at a press conference should know who he is. And then the mayor is just like, for those of you too young to remember. And I'm like, again, this was only when did Ghostbusters 2 come out? I think it came out in 1992. No,
Oh,
1989. Okay, still,
yeah.
Ghostbusters ended 6 years before the cartoon. So it's only been a 6 year gap. What do you mean, those of you too young to remember?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
But we'll roll it back. I've gone too far. Um, so one of the reasons that Egon is now a college professor and the Ghostbusters went under is because apparently they caught all the ghosts. They did too good of a job. The ghosts just kind of stopped appearing, and they caught everything that was here. And they were just, Egon wept for there were no more ghosts to catch. And so now he teaches college, but all of his alarms and stuff start going off because of the aforementioned ghost release from the tunnel. And so he takes his entire class on a class trip to the Ghostbusters headquarters to go get his readings. And I did like the Easter egg that if you looked on the table with all of their gear, he did have Tobin's Guide to the Supernatural on it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So then he dismisses class, and he goes to go warn the mayor that clearly ghosts are back, and that is where reporters don't know who he is, despite him being Egon Spengler. From there, the gothy girl, played by Tara Strong, her grandmother recently died and she misses her, so she steals one of his inventions that is supposed to attract a ghost.
Seems
And
like a dangerous thing to have around.
yeah, just lying around. Well, he told her that. Don't touch that. Well, he's never let anyone into headquarters really before, so I don't think it was really a non-issue until this one day, upon
Hmm.
which he was like, "Hey, don't touch that," and then she proceeds to clearly steal it. But so she is doing a ritual to try and talk to her dead grandmother. Meanwhile, we have the big baddie ghost that escaped from the subway tunnels is looking for a willing host, and she keeps trying to possess people, and they're not willing. But she senses this beacon and proceeds to go possess our main character girl, who was clearly not a willing host.
No, because she got tricked.
Well, yeah, but she was like, "You're not my grandma," and she was like, "Ah ha ha! I'm gonna possess you," and I'm like, "No, she's again clearly not a willing host. This is you set up one rule for yourself and you broke it immediately." So then they go through. Possessed her, beats up Egon. Egon gets infected with a virus. He can't do this anymore, so he has to hire his class to become the new Ghostbusters and hunt her down. I don't know why. They don't even mention him attempting to contact the old Ghostbusters. He just
Well, I
calls
think
in.
they've all left town at this point.
That's what.
Like they're not immediately available.
I mean, I assume as much. If you watch part two, you know when they break up, they all go their own separate ways. But still, it doesn't even seem like he tried. And so that's kind of where we end the episode. It ends on a cliffhanger. It's clearly a two-part pilot. I did not watch the second part. I just wasn't into it enough to continue watching it and see where it went.
So, what do you think? This
And
one would you recommend to kids these days? A little bit more recent, a little bit more closer to the current animation style. What do you
I
think?
I don't think kids these days would know what the hell they were looking at. This is so specifically 90s edgy.
Yeah,
They
it's
would be like,
way too
"What is
90s-y.
happening? I did not live through this decade. Is this how things were in the 90s? I don't want to watch this with my kid because I don't want to answer 500 questions about 1997."
No, I don't. And again, we would have been 12. I think we would have been right in the demographic they would have been aiming at. I did not watch this show back then.
I don't
I
even know where it aired. I did not even know this existed until my college roommate John not showed it to me because I'd never seen it before, but was like, "Oh, you like the Ghostbusters?" And then immediately assumed I had watched Extreme Ghostbusters because it was age appropriate for us, and told me about it. And it was news to me. I was so unaware of its existence. Again, I don't even know where was this a Saturday morning cartoon? What
think so
network
because
was this on?
I have no idea. I definitely caught it a couple of times back then. I never sought it out. Like it was not something I made a point to watch back in 1997. I don't know how many years it aired. It probably aired like 2 or 3 years. I never made any like attempt to like get into that show. 'Cause I think even then it felt like it was trying too hard. It was just
Mm-hmm.
trying way too hard. I don't think, yeah, I think if I put it on for a kid today, it would not care for it. There's not, there's just not enough there. It's all so over stylized and with such a lack of substance. And I think because they were trying to be edgy, I did end up watching both episodes of the. I did watch 2 episodes of Extreme Ghostbusters, so I saw the second part of that cliffhanger. And there were times where I'm like, this is a little too adult in the humor at times that I don't think would be even appropriate for kids. Because there was one point where in the second part where Tara Strong's character, she's still possessed and she's trying to get Eduardo. she starts coming on to him, like really just blatantly she's coming on to him, like saying that she's attracted to him. Like, okay, this is a kid's cartoon. And then the other characters are like, Eduardo, don't do it. His response was, but she's legal. And I was like, what? That's not okay. It's
Yeah.
not that. And I'm like, sure, yes, they're all in college. He doesn't realize she's possessed. She thinks she's a consenting adult. But just the line
Just
in the
that
children's
line.
cartoon, like she's legal. I'm like,
Unnecessary.
Eduardo, Eduardo, roll it back a little bit, dude. What are we doing here?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I would not recommend Extreme Ghostbusters for a 2021 kid. Not great. Not a great look.
Yeah,
We can leave this one in 1997.
speaking of not a great look, those closing credits leave a lot to be desired. It's like they ran out of budget and just put up like a PowerPoint.
Oh yeah, it looked like a screensaver.
Yeah, it
Like
was
pictures
this
of ghosts.
it was potentially the worst closing credits I've seen in a children's cartoon.
Yeah, there's no effort there.
Like I guess it was Fox News, it was Fox Kids, not Fox News. It was Fox Kids. So like typically when those credits were playing, they were like 1 inch by 1 inch in the corner of a screen while they were doing like an advertisement for whatever was coming up next.
True.
But oh my god, they didn't put any effort into that.
Oh,
Um,
those were particularly bad.
Particularly bad. So yeah, do not recommend either of these. They just don't hold up. If you're looking for some nostalgia for your childhood, maybe check a different episode of The Real Ghostbusters. If you're really missing the edginess of 1997, I guess check out an episode of Extreme Ghostbusters.
I can't. No one is nostalgic for that. The edginess of the late '90s is just the
It
worst.
was so bad. Just, you can see. I feel like it would be interesting for like a college student to do a study on all the influences that they picked for what edgy directions to take.
Yeah. Because when did things get edgy like that?
Oh god.
This was just a couple of years earlier.
Yeah,
Things
I'd
were
say 94.
94 is when that edge started to come in. God, what were we thinking back in the 90s? I have no idea. Um,
I'm trying to
yeah,
look. Yeah, Liquid Television came out in 1991. Beavis and Butthead came out in 1993, and that's really when like those type of edgy shows started to take off. So,
so that makes sense. So it hits MTV in the early 90s, and that trickles down to children's television in the mid to late 90s. That makes perfect
yes.
sense.
Yeah.
And then, thankfully, it all just sort of ended sometime in the probably in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it got replaced by other weird stuff.
9/11 happened, and we were like, okay, nobody needs this anymore.
We're all gonna get really sad and call it emo instead of alternative.
Ugh, what an era.
What a time to be alive. Okay, so that's really all I want to discuss about that weird
Got the
time.
Ghostbusters.
I was I had this grand idea that I was going to keep us to 45 minutes tonight, and we're over an hour and a half, so I have failed.
Good, good talk though.
Good talk. Yeah. Um Hope everyone enjoyed it. Hope no one feels the need to go watch it. We watched it so that you don't have to.
Definitely don't make your kids watch it because they're not going to enjoy it.
They will bring it up in the future and cite it as an inciting
Yeah.
incident in the reason they are the way they are.
So thank you for listening to Raising Those Spirits.
Where can they find
I'm
us, Sam?
Sam. Oh, they can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. RT Spirits Pod. What we go by on the social media. Tell us what Ghostbusters iteration you like. Tell us if you're excited about Afterlife.
All right, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm Steve,
I'm Sam.
and we're way past Halloween, so just keep it spooky for another year.
Yeah, for a whole nother year.
Bye.